Welcome back, everyone. It's wild, to think that even with all the tech we have today, ancient Egypt still has secrets.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of them.
And today we're going deep on one of those secrets.
Yeah.
Lost tombs, like some of Egypt's most famous figures, and we still can't find where they're buried.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. It's like these puzzles that have stumped archaeologists forever.
It really makes you wonder what else is out there just waiting to be discovered, right?
Right.
So we're focusing on 5 specific tombs that haven't been found yet.
Okay, cool.
I'm excited to get into the clues, the theories, all that.
Yeah, let's jump in. So to kick things off, let's talk about a pharaoh, Thutmose II.
Oh, Thutmose II, okay.
He ruled during a super dynamic period in Egyptian history.
Thutmose II. Fourth pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, if I remember correctly, and both brother and husband to Hatshepsut.
Wow, that's a whole other deep dive right there, that family.
Talk about some serious family drama, right?
His reign wasn't very long, and there's still a lot of debate about how he died and what happened with his burial.
Right, and then we have Tomb 42, which at first everyone thought was his.
Exactly, but there's something strange about it.
What do you mean?
It's just not grand enough. For a pharaoh, especially from a dynasty as powerful as his was, it's kind of underwhelming.
So almost like he was buried in a hurry, or like they intentionally wanted to downplay it. Could there be some political angle there?
Oh, for sure. Especially with Hatshepsut coming into power later on. You can't help but wonder if there's a connection.
A power play, maybe?
Could be. Definitely a theory worth digging into more.
Well, good thing we have people like Zahi Hawass on the case. I hear he's leading the search for Thutmose II's real tomb.
Oh, yeah. He's a big name in the field, and his approach is really interesting.
How so?
He's using a mix of, like, old school excavation and some seriously high-tech stuff, ground-penetrating radar and things like that.
So they're basically using radar to look underground. Wow, that's pretty sci-fi.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They can map out chambers, tunnels, even see if the soil density changes, which can point to hidden structures.
That's incredible. It's like actually looking into the past.
Okay, so speaking of powerful 18th dynasty figures, let's switch gears to a queen, Nefertiti.
Ah, Nefertiti, one of the most famous queens, ever.
Her reign with Akhenaten was a huge time of change for Egypt, especially religiously.
And then, poof, she just disappears from the records. What happened?
It's a total mystery. There are some who think maybe she ruled under a different name after Akhenaten died, maybe even like trying to shake things up.
Interesting.
Others think she might have gotten sick or was caught up in some political drama.
It's like she just vanished into the thin air.
Pretty much.
But there are theories about her tomb being in some kind of lost city, right? Is that a real possibility, or is it just a legend?
It's a great story for sure, but right now there's no proof to back it up. But still, the idea that there could be a whole hidden city out there kept secret to protect it, that definitely adds to the mystery.
It does, especially with some folks thinking she might be buried near Tutankhamun.
Oh, that'd be huge. If that's true, finding one tomb could lead to the other.
Can you imagine finding both of them? It'd be like rewriting history.
Total game changer, for sure.
And speaking of Tutankhamun, that brings us to another missing tomb, someone very closely connected to him.
You mean Ankhesenamun?
Yes, his wife.
And Akhenaten and Nefertiti's daughter? I mean, talk about a central figure in all the drama of that time period.
Her life must have been crazy, so much upheaval and intrigue. We know she lived longer than Tutankhamun, but where she ended up is anyone's guess.
Yeah, that's the mystery.
And this is where modern science comes in, right? I've heard they're using DNA to try and identify her remains.
Absolutely. There are 2 mummies that could be her, one from Tomb 55 in the Valley of the Kings, and the other called KV-21A.
This is like a historical CSI episode. How does that work? Like, how do they use DNA to solve something that old?
It's pretty fascinating that they compare the DNA from those mummies to samples from other confirmed royal family members.
Ah, see, so they're looking for matches like a family tree.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about figuring out who's who. It can also tell us about, like, diseases they might have had, what they ate, even their migration patterns.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like a whole new level of understanding. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about a pharaoh whose tomb is missing, and it's, well, kind of a head-scratcher.
You talking about Ramses VIII?
Yeah. He's the only king from the 20th dynasty buried in the Valley of the Kings whose tomb is, well, missing. What makes him so different?
That's the question, isn't it? His reign wasn't short or anything. He ruled for like 6 years.
So what are people thinking? What happened?
One idea is that Tomb 19, which originally belonged to Prince Mentuhotep's, maybe got repurposed for Ramses when he became pharaoh.
So, like, they just reused it.
It's a bit odd, but it wouldn't be the first time a tomb got adapted for someone else.
So his tomb could be hiding in plain sight.
Maybe. And of course, there are tons of research teams out there actively looking for it.
Makes sense? It shows you that even in a place as well studied as the Valley of the Kings, there's still stuff to be found.
Right. It's not over yet.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And speaking of mysteries that are, well, huge, we have to talk about one of the biggest names in history, whose tomb is still a giant question mark.
Oh, yeah, you're talking Alexander the Great.
The one and only. I mean, we're not even sure what continent it's on.
Yeah, this one's a real doozy. We know he died in Babylon, but where they put him after that is a total debate.
So no tomb, no clues, no nothing.
Well, there are some clues, but they're all over the place. Some point to Siwa Oasis in Egypt, a place he visited and had religious importance for him.
Right.
Others think maybe it's in Greece, where he's from.
Okay, two totally different places. It's almost like his legacy is so big, the possible tomb locations match it.
It's an interesting thought. And then there's the idea that it was originally in Memphis, but the Romans moved it to Alexandria later on.
So we have these theories, these locations, but nothing concrete.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
I can't even imagine how hard it must be trying to find something like that after all this time.
Oh, incredibly hard. What makes it even harder is that a lot of the old records are either vague or they contradict each other.
Right, right.
Plus, you have to think, over centuries, cities get built, the landscape changes. It's easy for something like a tomb to be destroyed or just lost.
It's mind-blowing, really, to think that someone like Alexander the Great could just disappear from the archaeological record like that.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling, right? Shows you that even with all our fancy technology, we don't have all the answers.
Definitely. It's not just about finding the physical location either. It's what those tombs could tell us.
Oh, for sure.
About how they lived, what they believed in, their whole worldview.
Exactly. Imagine the artifacts, the inscriptions, even the architecture. It could totally change how we understand these people.
Like opening a time capsule packed with information.
Yes. For example, if we found Nefertiti's tomb, it could teach us so much about the Amarna period, that whole time of religious and artistic revolution she was a part of.
It'd be like getting a front row seat to one of the most fascinating times in Egyptian history.
Absolutely.
Okay, so remember that lost city theory we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
That idea's really captured people's imaginations.
That has.
Now, we have to be real. There's no solid proof yet, but thinking about how the ancient Egyptians loved to hide things and all their symbolism.
Yeah, they were experts at hiding things in plain sight.
All those tombs, the fake entrances, the secret chambers. It's almost like they knew we'd be obsessed with their mysteries.
I think there's something to that, yeah. And it's not impossible that some of these tombs we're talking about, especially Nefertiti's or Thutmose II's, are part of something bigger, hidden away to protect their legacy.
Wow, a whole hidden city just waiting to be found.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would. But even if we never find these tombs, the search itself is valuable.
Oh, absolutely. It pushes archaeology forward, makes us rethink what we know and how we do things.
Like the DNA analysis we were discussing, using science to answer these ancient questions. That's amazing.
Revolutionizing the field, yeah. And it's not just about confirming identities. It can tell us about their health, their diets, even migration patterns.
It's incredible. Like a whole new layer of understanding is opening up.
For sure.
But it's not all high-tech, is it? There's still all that research, going through old texts, comparing records, analyzing tiny bits of evidence.
Tons of that. It's a lot of detail work.
It really shows how dedicated and passionate these archaeologists are, you know?
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes, making discoveries that change how we see the past.
And those discoveries often lead to even more questions, don't they? Which I guess is part of what makes it all so interesting.
It's true. The more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
And sometimes it's the questions we can't answer, the mysteries we haven't solved that keep us coming back for more. Like with Alexander the Great, we may never know for sure where he's buried.
It's possible, yeah.
But the search, the trying to figure it out, that's going to keep historians and archaeologists going for generations.
That's the beauty of history, isn't it? It's this ongoing conversation between the past and the present.
And sometimes those gaps in the conversation, the missing pieces, are what make us want to listen even closer, to hear the stories that haven't been told yet.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
And that's why those last tombs, even though we haven't found them, they still have this power. you know?
Oh, absolutely.
They're not just physical places. They're these gaps in our knowledge, mysteries that are just begging to be explored.
I agree, and it makes you realize that the story of ancient Egypt, it's not over.
Not at all.
Every new discovery, every new piece of evidence adds another layer to what we know about this amazing civilization.
It's a reminder that the past isn't fixed. It's always changing as we find new things and see things in a new light.
Yep.
And sometimes it's those new ways of seeing things that really shake things up and lead to the biggest discoveries.
Totally. Like, take Thutmose II's tomb, the one that seems so plain.
Right.
What if that was intentional? A way to hide his real burial place?
It's fascinating to think that what seems like a disrespect could actually be a cover-up. You know, some power play we haven't figured out yet.
It just shows you that sometimes the simplest explanation isn't the right one.
And that's what makes this whole field so exciting.
It is.
There's always a chance that something new could come along and totally flip our understanding of the past on its head.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be open-minded, to consider all the possibilities, and to question everything.
Because sometimes the wildest theories turn out to be the closest to the truth.
Exactly. And that's what makes studying history so rewarding. It's all about discovery, trying to understand, always learning.
And it never really ends, does it?
Nope.
There's always more to learn, more to find, more to dig up, literally.
That's right. Like with Ramses VIII, even though we have records of his reign, his tomb is still MIA.
It's a question that's been bugging Egyptologists for decades.
And the fact that we haven't cracked it yet, well, that just makes it all the more interesting.
It really highlights how even in the Valley of the Kings, a place that's been studied so much, there are still secrets waiting to be discovered.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. And with all the new tech, the new ways of researching, the new generation of archaeologists coming up, who knows what we'll find next?
It's an exciting time to be in this field. Maybe we'll finally find Alexander the Great's tomb or discover a whole new pharaoh we've never even heard of.
The possibilities are endless. But for now, let's stick with what we do know.
Sounds good.
All the clues, the theories, and all the work being done to solve these ancient mysteries.
Yeah. Because even without all the answers, the search itself is a testament to our curiosity, how fascinated we are by the past, and how much we want to understand the world.
It's true. And it shows that the story of ancient Egypt, it's not finished yet. It's a story that's still being written chapter by chapter, with every new discovery, every piece of evidence, and every new group of explorers who are brave enough to step into the unknown.
Beautifully said. I love it.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up for part 1 of our deep dive into these lost tombs.
Great stuff.
But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to continue unraveling these mysteries.
Can't wait.
You know, it's kind of crazy to think that these pharaohs, these queens, they were real people walking around thousands of years ago.
Yeah, like they had lives,
Yeah.
hopes and dreams and...
Exactly. And now we're here still trying to find where they ended up, their final resting places.
It's a weird thought, right? We know all this stuff about them, their reigns, what they did, but this one basic thing.
The location of their tomb.
Exactly. It's still a mystery.
Do you think maybe that mystery is part of what makes them so fascinating to us? Like if we'd found all the tombs, would they be as interesting?
That's a good question. I think there's definitely something to that. The not knowing, it makes you wonder.
It keeps that sense of like adventure alive.
Yeah, for sure. It's like those old stories, about buried treasure and lost cities.
Exactly. There's something about the unknown that just grabs you.
And with the ancient Egyptians, with all their beliefs and rituals, their whole thing with death and burial, it makes you wonder.
If they did it on purpose.
Yeah, like if they planned it so these tombs would be hard to find, to keep their secrets safe for all this time.
It's almost like they knew we'd be here centuries later trying to figure it all out.
Like they left us a puzzle.
Exactly. And every time we find something, a new piece of the puzzle, it's like we get a little closer to understanding them.
Their motivations, what they believed, their whole view of life and death.
Right, right. Speaking of finding things, we've been talking about all the tech they're using now to find these tombs.
The radar, the DNA analysis.
Yeah, all that. Do you think it's just a matter of time before we crack the code with all this new technology?
I think it definitely helps. Technology is always changing. What seems impossible today could be easy tomorrow.
I like that.
Imagine, what if we could scan, huge areas of land, not just looking for chambers, but for specific things, gold, jewels, the stuff they'd bury with royalty.
That would be insane. It'd be like having X-ray vision, but for the whole Earth.
Right. And who knows what else we'll come up with. Archaeology is changing so fast, always new ideas, new ways of thinking.
So it's not just about digging anymore.
Oh, there's still plenty of that. But it's also about using science, history, language. It's almost like detective work.
I like that.
And it takes imagination. You have to think outside the box, be willing to question everything.
Like with Thutmose II's tomb, the one that's so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
What if it's not what it seems? What if they were trying to throw us off?
It could be. And it shows you that sometimes the most obvious answer isn't the right one.
And that's what makes this whole field so cool. You never know what you're going to find, what could change everything we thought we knew.
It's true. History's not set in stone. It's always evolving.
It's alive. And that's why finding these tombs, it's about more than just the location.
Way more.
It's about learning, challenging what we think we know, appreciating how complex history really is.
Absolutely.
And realizing there's still so much out there waiting to be discovered. The story of ancient Egypt, it's still being written.
For sure.
So for everyone listening, keep digging, keep researching, keep that curiosity alive.
Yes. Learn about these people. Look into the latest discoveries. See what theories you connect with.
The hunt for these lost tombs, it's an adventure all on its own.
And who knows, maybe one of you will be the one to make the next big discovery. Anything is possible.
Wild, right? We've been talking about these pharaohs, these queens, and they were real people, like they lived and breathed thousands of years ago.
It's hard to wrap your head around sometimes.
And here we are, still searching for their final resting places, these lost tombs.
We know so much, but this one basic thing, where they were buried.
Like the missing piece of the puzzle.
And maybe that's part of the appeal, the fact that we haven't found them yet.
Does that make them more interesting, do you think? The mystery of it all?
I think so, yeah. It sparks our curiosity, makes us want to keep searching.
It's like those old stories, buried treasure, hidden cities.
Oh, for sure.
There's something about the unknown that just draws you in.
And with the ancient Egyptians, with their whole, elaborate system of beliefs, especially about death,
Right.
it makes you wonder if they meant for it to be this way.
Like, if they designed these tombs to be hidden, to protect their secret.
Maybe they knew we'd be here, trying to figure it all out, all these centuries later.
Like, they left us a challenge.
Exactly.
And every time we find something, it's like a step closer to understanding them.
Understanding how they saw the world, what they valued.
Speaking of finding things, all this new technology we've talked about.
The radar, the DNA testing.
Yeah, all that. Do you think we'll eventually find all these lost tombs with these new tools?
I'm optimistic. I think so. Technology changes so fast, what seems impossible now might be easy in a few years.
Right. It's always changing.
Imagine if we could scan the Earth and not just see chambers, but actually identify what's in them, like gold or jewels.
Wow. That would be incredible. Like seeing through time.
Right. And who knows what else we'll discover. Archaeology is always moving forward. New ideas, new techniques.
So it's not just digging in the dirt anymore.
Well, there's still plenty of that. But it's more than that. It's science, it's history, it's language.
It's a whole different way of looking at the past.
And you need to be creative, to think differently, to question what you think you know.
Like with Thutmose II's tomb, the one that's so simple.
Exactly. What if it was a decoy?
A way to throw people off the trail.
It just shows you the obvious answer isn't always the right one.
And that's what makes this whole field so exciting.
It is. There are always new discoveries to be made, things that could change everything we thought we knew.
It's like history is alive, always changing.
It's a constant process of discovery and reinterpretation.
And that's why these lost tombs, they're so important. It's not just about finding a place.
No, it's about so much more.
It's about expanding what we know, pushing the boundaries of our understanding, and appreciating how complex history really is.
And realizing how much we still don't know.
Like with Ramses VIII, we have records of him, but his tomb is still a mystery.
And that mystery keeps us searching, keeps us asking questions.
It reminds us that there are still secrets out there waiting to be uncovered.
And with all the new research, new technology, who knows what we'll find next?
The possibilities are endless. It's an exciting time to be interested in ancient Egypt.
It really is.
So for everyone listening, I encourage you to keep exploring.
Yes, keep learning, keep digging.
Read more about these fascinating figures. Check out the latest discoveries, see what theories resonate with you.
Because the search for these lost tombs, it's a journey in itself.
It's a journey through time, through mystery, and ultimately a journey of discovery.
Beautifully said. I couldn't agree more.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the lost tombs of ancient Egypt. Thanks for joining us on this incredible adventure.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, history is full of mysteries waiting to be solved, so keep that curiosity alive. Until next time, happy exploring.